going on, guys? I am Simple Simon. I'm your comic book noob. Welcome to the NOOB Rebirth. Today, me and Mark are going to be talking about movies. But before we do that, if you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe if you like what you see and hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Let's do this. Alright, so today's episode is brought to you by Max Washington, who suggested this in our last video together. He wanted to hear us talk about best and worst comic book movies. But before we start, say hi, Mark!
Hey, how's it going over there in TV land, YouTube land, in Forever land? How you going?
That was not a hi, Mark, dude.
Oh, yeah, sorry. How are ya, Mark?
It's hi, Mark. I think people are starting to say hi, Mark in the comments. Hashtag hi, Mark. Mate.
Oh, hi, Mark.
It's becoming a thing. You can't just change it, man.
Do it again.
People hate reboots. No, we're good. We're good.
Oh.
We'll save the best for last. Let's go with some worst. What are some comic book movies that you think are not very good, Mark?
Hang on, give me
I can tell you one straight off the bat. Or a bunch.
Hang on.
Every DC movie recently. Oh, some of them not so good comic book
Obviously,
movies.
there was a whole heap of bad movies coming out in the 80s.
A lot of them.
Spider-Man 1, there's
Which one?
No, I'm just saying, in the 80s there was a whole bunch
I
of
used to love
bad...
that one.
Huh?
When I was a kid, I used to love that one. Where he sits at the camera and films himself.
Oh, it was so bad.
The wall, man.
Oh, the script was bad, everything was
Yeah,
bad.
but back in those days, you didn't have...
There was a Captain America movie, it was bad. In the 80s, they just made it bad.
Okay, we'll keep going. No, I was going to bring up what was good about the 80s, but no, we'll keep going with the bad.
There's plenty of good about the 80s, mate. Superhero movies weren't one of them. A lot of people say the worst, mate, Catwoman with Halle Berry. Absolute shocker, had nothing to do.
I haven't seen that.
I've never seen it either, and I don't want to watch. That's like maybe 2 hours of my life I'll never get back. Totally had nothing to do with the source material. Absolute shocker.
I got one.
Well, tell me.
Eric Bana Hulk.
So I don't think that was a bad
I didn't
film.
enjoy it, but I loved the way it was made because it was very comic book. The way it was directed was great.
Ang Lee's a great director.
Yeah, but I didn't love. But I wasn't comic books back then either. So
yeah, so it's a good film, but it's not. It goes a little bit away from the comic book. Not everything translates well from paper to celluloid.
Look, I'm gonna just say, like, as far as like all the recent DC movies, like I've reviewed quite a few of them, and I don't love them. I always enjoy watching them, but I can't put my name behind saying that they're great movies. Like, for example, Justice League.
At the end of the day,
Suicide Squad was not great at all.
No, Man of Steel, all those movies.
I didn't mind Man of Steel.
They're not bad films.
I didn't mind Man of Steel.
They're just not great films. And
but
obviously this is opinion based. Opinion based.
Very good, yep.
And so, I don't know, I have a term that I use is the moments movies, where you can pick a part in the film and you say there's a great moment in the film. But as an overall film, sometimes it just, like Man of Steel for me,
I thought it was good. I liked it.
It just went really far away from the source material.
Okay.
Right? And the thing is, they picked the wrong writer. The director's awesome. I love Zack Snyder. He's a great framer of uses the camera well. But I think the writer was just not the right one for that film.
Okay.
And so I think, it just went too far from the source material, in my opinion. Superman Returns.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
That went too far into the source material, and then went far from it again. It's really delicate and balanced when you do a superhero film. And I think Marvel, the MCU, have really shown the perfect balance that they have between the source material and what works on film. They find a middle ground and they go with it. Even though Wonder Woman's a great film and I love it, it's just Justice League, and Man of Steel, Batman v Superman. I thought.
What do you think is the best actually?
As a whole film, they missed the mark.
Which one do you think is actually the best out of the more recent DCU films?
Oh, it would have to be Wonder Woman. and maybe Aquaman.
Aquaman for me.
Second,
Aquaman.
maybe Aquaman second. I'd say Wonder Woman, then Aquaman second.
I reckon Aquaman was better than Wonder Woman. Let's move over to good movies now. I want you to save a couple because I'm sure you have your 3 favourites. So we won't mention that yet. We'll save that till the end. Let's just discuss some movies first before we go into maybe our 3 of our favourites. Something that people don't think about. That's a good one. Conan the Barbarian. Arnie Conan.
I love that film.
You love that film. I love that film. Classics.
I love soundtracks in the film.
Yeah.
Anyone who knows me would know that I love soundtracks. And that movie was a B-grade film, and it was made into a majestic film just by the soundtrack. Just
a quick shout out to Overeasy Mode, who's a YouTuber. He did an awesome video on Conan the Barbarian comparing the comic books to the movies, and really good. You should check that out. I'll leave a link to that somewhere in this video.
Yeah. Basil Pomadoris was the guy who did the soundtrack. It's just unbelievable, and it wasn't exactly Conan the Barbarian like from the comics, but it was Conan the Barbarian in the movies. They did a really good job. Like the whole slave thing, I thought it was brilliant. Another one that I really like, which is a bit more funny, I haven't read the comic at all, but I know it's based on a comic book, but I just love it because it's so quirky and fun, is Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Have you seen that? Yeah, I have. I love that. That is a great film. It is an awesome film. Have you read the comic or
yeah,
great. I mean, the chaos from the page, it absolutely comes across onto the film.
So you have read the book?
Yeah, and the thing is, and that's so similar to, Kick-Ass. You watch Kick-Ass, and you read Kick-Ass, and it's like, what? Yeah. Then you watch the movie and you go, wow. So Kick-Ass is a good example of what works on page, doesn't necessarily work on film. But what they did with the film was great. But not everything works. Big Daddy. In the movie, the way he looks, his look was great compared to what he looks in the comic book. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah. I love the whole the depiction of it.
We're not going Batman just yet, but with the Superman, Christopher Reeves, like as a kid,
1979, mate.
Was that 79?
I'm pretty sure that was 79.
I just remember, is it 4 where he fights the guy from the sun?
That was in the 80s. Yeah.
I saw that in the cinemas, I remember, and it was just epic, man.
Epic.
Does that movie hold up though? I don't know. I haven't seen it for a while.
Not really. They tried the classic Christopher Reeve film was fantastic. Richard Donner did a great job with that film. Is the whole turning the world backwards. That's the only thing that really grinds me. But
Superman can't do that?
Overall film was a great film. Great actor, Christopher Reeve, great story, great casting. In the beginning of the film where he drops the prequel for the second film, in the first film it was just brilliantly done. It showed you how to create a whole franchise, I suppose.
Yeah, so what about Batman movies, man? You know what I really love about the very first Adam West Batman movie?
Yeah.
I love that it was a movie event. Like, I always say to people don't give it enough credit because these days they make a movie, they choose one villain, maybe 2 villains, and then that's it, right? That Batman movie with Adam West, it was like a movie event. Because it was based on the TV show, they brought all the villains in there, like let's make a major movie event. Yeah. And I love that.
That series was so popular.
Oh, dude.
They absolutely soaked that up, like they took that in for as long as they could. It even resonated into the comic books. It was so popular. And it took Frank Miller to write Legends of the Dark or Dark Knight Returns to absolutely people to stop thinking of Batman in that way.
Okay, well for me it took Michael Keaton to...
yeah, of course.
So let's get into that, mate.
Let's talk about Batman 89.
When the 89 film came out, dude, it was just like, oh my god, Batman is all of a sudden badass.
I wrote a paper on it when I was at university studying graphic design about the Batman 89 film and how the differences. Anyway, that movie was so comic book. The framing of the actors in the frame, the transitions, everything was just. It wasn't your typical Tim Burton film, obviously, but it had those little touches of Tim Burton. It was the second movie that was it went full Burton. And again, it's another example where how not everything works from page to celluloid. Jack Nicholson was awesome as the Joker. he played the Joker to a T. In a very comic book like, you know, and I just love the idea. It's in modern day, but it looks like the 30s. It's so very clever.
I always say I'm not an X-Men person. I was an X-Men person as a kid, but I watched the first X-Men movie and I just didn't like it back when it came out. And I never watched any other ones. I watched Logan. I just didn't like it. I don't know why. I didn't like Rogue being played by, was it Anna Paquin? Yeah. And I never watched the other ones. But I want to hear your, because I know you probably love them, right?
I love the first one.
No, like all of them. Do you like the whole franchise?
I loved them up until Days of Future Past, which I loved. First Class was okay, and even though people argue, the hell is that the First Class? I understand why they call it First Class. And I interpret it as in like it's the first time he actually calls them X-Men. By the time he gets to the first team, which is Jean Grey and Cyclops and Beast and so forth, it was more of the first team, not the first class. So I get it. Up until Days of Future Past, I loved them. I thought they were great. For the first time, like ever since I've had the store, I've always found people saying that they love the X-Men movie, the first one in 2000. But ever since I opened the store, I find people that didn't like it, like you know yourself. And
this is back when I wasn't a noob. I read X-Men.
I thought it was great.
Comics back then.
I thought it was different. It's
maybe I just wanted more from it. I don't know.
It was just different. Like it was just a different movie.
Because I think I'd enjoy them more now because I just enjoy watching. I don't watch anything anymore. Like I literally all I watch is YouTube. So the only things I do watch and go out of my way to watch is when the new comic book related movies come out, I'll watch them. I do, it's funny because obviously I love the MCU movies. I still haven't watched them all, but just think back to when I watched them before I was into comic books. Like the ones that I liked. Like I really dug Iron Man when it first came out. Wow, that was such a good movie. Thor was great. I really enjoyed
Iron Man was just a jumping, like a launching pad for them, you know, the style, the look of the film. Was just a jump. Was just a.
Did they have a plan already? Like, did they know they were going to do this, or was it just that was so successful? They're like, let's make something.
Well, it's like I always explain to people. It's like they instead of dipping a toe in, right? They sort of like said, you know what? At the end of the film, let's put an Easter egg in there. Let's put a little cut scene, like an extended scene where you know. Nick Fury's in there talking about the Avengers initiative. Let's just drop that on people. You know, let's just go whole hog. If it's popular, we'll go with it. If it's not, oh well, it could have. But I just admire their bravery to do that. Yeah, and then you look at the opposite side, which is, you know, Warner Brothers and DC, where they sort of like, should we or shouldn't we? I don't know, you know, like, I don't know, man. You know, let's just make.
They're not all in, mate.
No, let's just make one film and see how popular it is at the box office. You know, they don't look at it from any other point of view.
I think things are going to change for DC slowly. I think they're on the right path slowly getting there. Before this video gets too long, let's talk about maybe our 3 favourite. I'll go first because I know you're going to rant forever.
Yes, I'm a talker.
So 3 of my favourites. You already mentioned one, Kick-Ass. I love the Kick-Ass series. There's only 2, wasn't there? They never ended up making a 3rd one, but I wish they really did.
Well, the 3rd one's always going to be pinged as being a hit girl film. So.
Yeah. So I think they've missed the boat on that.
100%.
So yeah, Kick-Ass is definitely one of them. Now, as far as my favourite Batman film, is actually Batman Begins.
Yeah, it's a great film.
That is my favourite one. I think I always love origin stories.
Yeah, Batman Begins was a great interpretation. You know, they got some, in my opinion, of course. I could never understand why they called it League of Shadows instead of League of Assassins. Never understood that, and I still don't. I think Chris Nolan achieved what he wanted to achieve, which was, what if in this day and age, a Batman, a guy who dressed up like a bat really existed? What would that look like? And he achieved it. Absolutely.
But I remember, like when the Toby Maguire Spider-Man came out, I really loved it when I first watched it, right?
Loved it.
Because I think it was the first time I really paid attention to the whole origin of him learning how to be a hero, learning how to web thing, and I was like, I loved it, man.
So, well, they made the decision, I don't know whether it was Sam Raimi or anything, but they made the decision to make the spider, to update the spider. So instead of being nuclear, they made it genetically altered, and that's why the webbing came out of him instead of having cartridges. And that's got pluses and pluses and negatives, obviously. But they wanted to update it for a new generation instead of having a nuclear, like back when Spider-Man was created in the 60s, everything was nuclear. I thought it wasn't a bad idea, you know, but a lot of people disagree. But, you know, people obviously like it. We've discussed before in other videos, you know, people, you know.
How dare you change my character?
Correct. But it was a good idea.
Alright, just my last one that I really love from more recent times. The first movie of this comic book adaptation was a very, very bad movie, but then they remade it in more recent times, and that is Judge Dredd. That movie, from beginning to end, it just does not stop. Like, basically, once it starts, you are in for this ride that just does not stop.
So you've seen what the movie was made? I think it was Korean movie that it's based on.
No. Oh yes, I know. It's I know you want the Siege. What's it called? It's not. It's not Korean. It's like Indonesian. It's like an Indonesian film or something.
Maybe.
The Raid.
The Raid, that's it, good one. One thing that I loved about the Judge Dredd film is what it is, right? Great concept. I hate it, but I understand it, why they showed the judges having been corrupt. Some judges were corrupt. And I also hated the fact that she never had her own henchman, like as in a muscle, to go up against Judge Dredd. He went through them like he was cutting through them like butter. And that's fine. But he needed someone, I think, at the end of the film, he needed someone to go up toe-to-toe with. You know, it was never there.
Let's smash out 3 of your favourite films, mate. Let's do it.
First one, Sin City. Great.
I started at the top. You're supposed to work backwards, all right? Sin City. I love
sorry.
Sin City. No, it's all good. Sin City is great. Sin City's fantastic.
Sin City, Frank Miller.
It's actually a comic I probably would eventually get around
reading.
Basically,
the best adaptation from comic book to movie. Robert Rodriguez used the comic book as a storyboard. It was fantastic, just the way it was lit, the way it was framed, you know, the way he did it black and white, the way he put splashes of colour in it. It was just, I was like I was reading the book, you know, it was fantastic. I think it was a great movie as well. Second was another Frank Miller book,
300?
Which is 300. Zack Snyder did it, again used.
Another shout out to Overeasy Mode, who just made a video comparing the comic book.
Oh, really?
I just watched it last night. Really well made and amazing. So
absolutely.
I'll leave links to Overeasy Mode's videos. He's
unbelievable.
Really good.
To the dialect, to the framing, everything was just from. Even though it's a historical event, you know, Zack Snyder decided to go with the comic book depiction, and it was fantastic. Even the actual title 300 was taken from the book. You know, the same with Sin Cities. But you know, and my third one, the third one, geez,
Suicide Squad.
I would have to say Iron Man, to be honest. The first Iron Man film, absolutely just great. Absolutely, they just went whole hog. They just didn't. They took a chance on Robert Downey Jr. Panned out. You know, Samuel L. Jackson. You know, at the end, and, you know, it was just a great film. And it was, you know, the suit was awesome. They chose a creative, a fan to create the film. You know, direct the film. Character-wise and look-wise, it was absolutely that suit that he makes in the cave, straight out of the comic book, man. Like, it looked fantastic, you know. And it was just a really good arc for a character, and you can see that he had more to go. Like, he didn't even reach full arc. He was, as a character, Tony Stark, he reached mid arc, and then in the second film he reached another part of his life, and then in the third one, you know, he sort of like, and then in Avengers he reached, you know, it's like they knew where it was going. It was just such a great film. Anyway, that's me.
Is there a comic book movie that you would like to see made that hasn't been made?
Oh man,
Red Hood for me.
Yeah, Red Hood. My dream movie would be Hush. Batman Hush. But that's a dream.
Alright guys, and that is us for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let us know in the comments maybe your top 3 comic book films, maybe your top 3 worst and best. I'd love to hear what you guys think and what you thought of the video today. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Mark, say goodbye.
Goodbye, Mark.
That's right, you said it properly this time. Until next time, guys, keep it simple.